Welcome to the Journey 2020. I'm Charles Morrison. Happy to have you here coming off the weekend. Blessings to you. I do hope all is well and that you're staying safe during these times, of course. And I'm Charles Morris, like I said, and this is the Journey 2020, where we've been around since 2013. And I used to host a show with a gentleman by the name of Dr. John Robertson, and it was actually his idea. And Dr. Robinson, I think, stopped hosting the show with me. I don't know if it's been 3 years or 4 years, but he became so busy. Now, mind you, he's a clinical psychologist, and he moved into a new building. And he said, Charles, I'm so busy now, it's really hectic. So I'm still trying to figure out whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, that Dr. Robinson, our clinical psychologist, too busy. Well, I guess overall, if you look at the bigger picture, I guess you can say that's a good thing, right? But anyway, the Journey 2020, like I said, we've been around since 2013. And on the third Monday of every month, we have our very own, actually out of the offices of Dr. Robinson is Kathy Meeks. She's our clinical psychologist and sex therapist. So we have good conversation with her. We learn some things about ourselves. And her goal is to try to help us better understand some things and get past a lot of myths and some other things as well. So if you get a chance, if you've been watching the show, then you know what Miss Meeks is all about. And we have a lot of fun with her. And then on the fourth Monday, we have Hakina Krumah from Young Fathers of Central Florida, who has a great organization, who has 9 programs within the organization to help young men as young as 12. Yeah, I didn't stutter. I'm speaking English. Young fathers as young as 12 years old on up to about the age of 27. And he helped them to understand their role and to position themselves, to put themselves in place, to do what they can to become the best fathers that they can become under the circumstances and situations, along with all the other madness that might be going on when you're 16 and 15, and even when you're 24 years old, the complications, the difficulties that we face now when it comes to being a parent, period. But he helps them in their relationship, along with the mothers, along with the state as well, because they do have some issues and problems, and that they're trying to straighten things out. Dealing with the court system as well. So he prepares all of them for that. And I think he has one of the best organizations probably in the country, and been doing it for well over 10 years, and is very, very, very good at it. There's a lot of patience, some good stories to tell. He's a great brother. Hakina Krumah from Young Fathers of Central Florida. Always looking for volunteers as well as donations. So look up Young Fathers of Central Florida, Hakina Krumah. And certainly, whatever you do, whether you're giving up money or time, would surely be appreciated. And if he's not available, you know we have our very own life coach, Regina Johnson. She talks about our finances and helping us better prepare ourselves for our future, help us raise our credit score, and to kind of get rid of some of these bad spending habits. Good luck with that, right? And so she comes on and we talk about that and some other situations and fun stuff that we talk about in relationships, boy, girl. And the old question is there romance without finance? Yeah, okay. You can stop laughing on that one. But anyway, Regina Johnson, we look forward to, when she comes on the show, it's always good conversation. So today's show, well, I got some heavy hitters, and I'm so happy to bring to you today. And so we're going to have some good conversation. So there's nothing like when you're embraced by some powerful women, right? Right, brother? Right on, 1968. But anyway, there's nothing like when you have some positive, powerful women in your life, right? And so I've been trying to get Miss Slater on for a little while now, but because she's so busy, and then we've had Miss Neal on, and I told Miss Neal, I'm going to try to have you on as much as possible between now and November, what is that, the 3rd, so she can talk and help us explain and understand how important it is for it to register that your vote count. And so you should vote you shouldn't hear nothing else. You shouldn't be complaining about nothing at all. And I'm going to ask Miss Neal to come. I need to see you. Why you hiding from me, Miss Neal? Why you hiding? Why you hiding from me? I barely see
I
you.
didn't realize I was trying. I had because I had to.
Say that again because you're cutting out.
I had to change computer.
Okay, because I know on one of the computers it wasn't working correctly, and then you went to another
Can you see me
computer
now?
and it was working fine. So let me see if I can get Miss Slater.
Oh yeah.
No, no, no. I want you to work on that because now I'm going to bring in Miss Cynthia. So I've been trying to get you to come on. I've been trying to get you to come on the show for a couple of months now because I heard about you and talk with you a few times. And so I would like for you to introduce yourself because you're over there where I used to hang out. I used to hang out over there in Volusia County back in the day, you know, on this
Back in the
on
day.
Second Avenue, you know, back in the day when it was called Second Avenue, when I was
That's it.
supposedly, I want you to listen to me now. Listen to me very carefully when I say this. When I was supposedly, what people think I was at Cookman, I was actually going to DBCC. But people think I went to Cookman. I did not go to Cookman. I was just on the grounds in the campus and had the black college experience without enrollment. But I was there on the campus. I went to the football games. I went to the basketball games. I went to all the campus, whatever was on, you know, on the grounds. You know, I got to see all the fraternities and the sororities when they was pledging and so on and so forth. So I truly had the black college experience without ever paying not one tuition to Bethune. But anyway, I just want to say to you, welcome to the Journey 2020. I'm so happy that you were able to come on the show. How you doing?
I'm doing good, and thank you for inviting me. And I really apologize for, you know, every time we try to set up a meeting, it gets canceled. But I'm here today, and
Well,
so
well,
thanks
well,
again for the invite.
well, you don't have to apologize. I mean, circumstances and situations that you can't control, like an accident, a car accident. Come on, I
Yeah,
understand.
been there.
But by the way, how you doing? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Going to therapy, and my car was totaled on July 31st, and it was the same day, of course, as our civic engagement chair and political action chair passed from COVID, and so that was a double whammy on me. But I'm doing much better.
Oh.
Miss my friend, but COVID is it's taking a lot of people out. But I am a native of Daytona, and I do believe you saying that you went to DBCC, but I believe you went to Bethune-Cookman because you just know too many people that was up there when I was there,
Trust me, yeah.
and
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure we
yeah,
crossed
yeah.
paths.
Oh yes, indeed. You know, thinking back, and I look back, well, I won't even talk about. Probably my second home was probably, you know, the girls' dorm, but that's a whole nother story, you know. But I was like 19, 20. What else is 19,
Yeah,
20-year-olds going to do at that time, right?
yeah. Well, that it was something about Cookman Hall and something about Lefevre and something about Meg's Hall and all of the men and women's dorms. So, but I didn't live on campus because I was, Daytona was my home, but I didn't live on campus, but I stayed up there. So I
Right.
was a cheerleader.
Well,
I finished up. Go ahead. I'm
I'm going to
sorry.
go way back and tell you one of the apartments that I used to live in. I used to live in Derbyshire Apartments as well.
Get out of here. You went way back. I think it changed its name about 5 times since then.
Oh, wow. Well, see, I lived in Derbyshire Apartments, you know, in addition to
Yeah.
living on Second Avenue. I used to live on was that Bird Avenue, which is around the corner from Second Avenue? I think it was Bird Street or Bird Avenue, somewhere around in,
Mhm.
well, but anyway, I was there, DBCC playing ball and some other stuff. But the funny thing is, as we talk about Daytona, not recognizing at that time when I was going there that Cookman was there. And so I was
Yeah.
there on an athletic scholarship and just happened to be blessed to pick
Mhm.
Daytona where Cookman is. And so that was a wonderful thing. But I probably would have been more inspired if I had recognized at the time that when I was doing what I was doing, like, oh, yeah, right up the street is Bethune. So, but it didn't take me long to figure that one out.
And
Well,
it was
listen,
right up the street because Daytona DBCC connects with Beckett Avenue, now Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard, and it's just a little brief walk. So,
right. Well, listen, I'm going to try to see if I can get Miss Neal to.
okay.
I'm going to see if I can try to get her to reconnect because I see her kind of, sort of. She's in the corner of the screen, but I'm going to see if I can get her to probably try to use her iPad again to see if we can reconnect with her that way. So I'm going to text her, and I don't know if she can hear us, but I do want to talk with you as we try to work things out with her. I do want to talk with you, and that is this right here. Tell us how you became involved. Well, first of all, tell us what you do because you're, and how I know about you was that Ms. Neal told me that you are involved with the NAACP. So tell us, connect the dots for us.
Well, okay. I'm a child of the '60s. I'm the youngest of seven children. Live in Daytona. Been here all my life. Went to college here. Never really wanted to leave because if I wanted to make a difference anywhere, it was going to be where in my home. Um, as a child, I had to go with my sisters and brothers because back in the '60s there was no such thing as daycare. Your big sisters and your big brothers was the daycare. And so that was during the time when integration, they were doing the sit-ins, and my sisters and brothers and other friends, young teenagers in Daytona, wanted to integrate Steak and Shake right down on Volusia Avenue, now International Speedway Boulevard. And I know you know what Volusia Avenue, it was Volusia Avenue then. But anyway, I had to go with them because they had to keep me and didn't know what they were doing and or why they were doing it. I just knew that they were at Steak and Shake trying to make a change. And I think from there, it just kind of inspired me to make a difference. I saw discrimination as I came up. I went to an integrated, segregated school through seventh grade, and once eighth grade on up, that was when forced integration came to be. And so I, we did some sit-ins and walkouts in high school, and just kind of continued, got involved with the NAACP under Mr. Charles Cherry, and that was right during Black College Reunion. I know that you remember Black College Reunion.
Oh,
Um,
very,
when
very,
they,
very well.
when they did not want kids, students from they didn't want them on Daytona Beach at all. And so that's when I really got involved with the NAACP. Um, I was just so blessed and lucky to work under Mr. Cherry, Mr. Charles Cherry Sr., who was the editor and owner of the Daytona Times. He had enough trust in me that during the elections, after only one uh, time under his tutelage, he recommended that I run for president. And I ran and won. And I have been president ever since. Got handcuffed a couple of times, trying to help students during BCR. Um, it was, BCR was really a nightmare when it came to law enforcement, and so it was that's when I really, really, really got involved with the NACP. So it was around 1997, 96 that I really got involved. And I became president in 2001, 2000, yeah, 2001. Um, and I've been president ever since. I, ran for office. Nobody really wanted to run against me. I think once or twice I've had somebody to run against me, but I won, and I'm really trying to train up young people to take my place because the NAACP it's time for young people to get involved and become leaders, and I'm just looking for that young person to do that.
Well, there's a couple of things that you said because wow, the the name Cherry is not a name that I hadn't heard in a long time, but I
Hmm.
know because I've done some work with him, but it was many years ago, and I know how active he was for so long. And it's funny that you said it because I had actually. I mean, wow! When you said his name, it's like, oh yeah, that's right. And because I hadn't heard his name in so long, and knowing who he was, I should
Hmm.
and and I think his daughter or somebody that was related to him that I used to work with as well. And I think there was a radio station that he owned.
WP,
Right. Yeah.
WP,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so going way back, and he's been active. He was. I mean, his voice was out there for a long time, for a very,
Oh
very,
yeah.
very long time.
He even started the youth and college division in Daytona when he was president way back in the early '60s. So he's been around for a long time. So I appreciate him, and I hope that he's looking down and smiling at the work that I've done, or the work that the organization has done, because it's not my organization.
Wow. Wow. Well. Now I think that we have Miss Neal here. Let me. How you doing, Miss Neal? How you doing?
I'm tired, but I'm doing good.
Yeah. Well, I was telling Miss Slater that it was you that told me about her, and that you had been on the show. I think this is your fourth time being on the show, but you had told me about it, and I'd actually had a few conversations with her on the phone. And then we talked and we kind of connected some of the dots in reference to some of the people that we know from the Cookman days and so on and so forth. And I told you that I would love to have the both of you on because I know that you got stories in reference to what you do, being part of the NAACP, being the black strong women that you are, because you have to be in order for you to do what you do. But let me see if I can ask this correctly. You know what? I kind of redirect the question. But what are some of the difficulties that you now see, which I guess nothing is new under the sun, seeing things the way that they are now and part of the NAACP, also being women? What are some of the difficulties nowadays that we're more challenged with than ever before when it comes to the NAACP and some of the things that we're trying to achieve? And whoever wants to answer first.
I will let
Cynthia?
Miss Neal go first, since I learned under her tutelage as well.
Well,
I'm a
actually, okay. Let me ask this question here. Let me ask this question here. There's a show that I do there's a show that I do on Sundays with a couple of brothers called Brother Can We Talk, man, I wish you guys could have been part of last Sunday. A Sunday show, and that show was
I heard
talking
some
about
of it.
right
You
that
sent it to me, and I listened to it.
discussion that we were having with Black Lives Matter, to whom it may concern and why. And I can remember Ms. Neal talking about our youth today and some of the challenges that there's no, well, if she can, I guess, help me with this, because she was saying that their lack of leadership. And so with that being said, that they want to do what they're doing, and we see what they're doing. And there are a lot of them out there doing some things. But her statement is that they don't want to listen. And so I want to ask you, do you find that to be true? And how would you respond to that statement that they don't want to listen because under them there's no leadership. Back when in the earlier days in the 60s and so on, that there was more leadership among
Yeah,
the
yeah.
peers.
And I do agree. Beverly and I have talked about this quite often, and I do believe that. And I think it's a certain age group that don't want to listen. We have a young adult chapter. We have a chapter. I mean, not a young adult chapter, but a division. And then we have another. They're all in the regular with the regular branch, but there's a group that's um, 40 to maybe 50 that they kind of do their thing, and but we don't have any problems with them. It's that younger group who don't understand or don't want to listen and think that we have old ideas and that their ideas are better. And I'm finding that right here in Daytona. When we were young, when I was younger, of course, there was no way. We always listened to our older leaders. We listened and learned, and if they needed, if we needed corrections, if we needed to be corrected, we didn't have any problems with sitting back, listening, and being corrected. But I think today we have a group of younger leaders uh, who want to be leaders and have really good skills, but they either want to do it their way or they don't want to listen to uh, the elders, the people who have actually walked the walk, and we can talk the talk. So until they've been where we've been through the segregation part, having to have water hose uh, pushed on us, have to step off the sidewalk to let white people pass by, to have to say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, to somebody that's younger. Our older generation had to say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, to somebody white much younger than me. Those are the things that we have to embrace, and we have to teach these kids that you all have not arrived. You have not arrived. So, yeah, I see that.
Well, that's that's interesting there. And I guess my next question would be, how do you see this movement now? And it's kind of strange in a way coming from where I come from. And what I mean by strange is that the fight has always been the fight. And I guess it's funny how God works when he opens up people's hearts and in the spirit, and then they respond, whatever this is now. And I just say this is how God has finally touched people's spirits and their hearts, because the message has always been the same. There's nothing that has changed as far as what we've been going through and what we've been yelling and screaming to the top of our lungs. And then finally, I guess the images are strong enough where it's like right there in your face now, whatever that is that has transpired in this movement, and people have started to, I like to say, better understand the words coming out of our mouths. How do you see that now?
Well, let me just give you an example. So they'll say, "Where's the NAACP?" And they expect the NAACP to be on TV or somewhere marching, protesting, and demonstrating. But marching, protesting, and demonstrating is all good. But if you are not at the table making influence and change, then if you're not at the table, you're part of the menu. So why you're saying, well, where is the NAACP? I don't see you out there marching. Well, you may not see me out there marching, well, but I'm at the table. I'm trying to influence change while you're out there marching. And so I think that's one of the things that I've been subjected to. Uh, you know, in I also tell people that you don't have to tell me how to you don't pick my battles for me. Uh, we have NAACP national office that we have to abide by. protocols, rules, and those kinds of things. And they don't understand organization skills, being a true organization and having to go through basic leadership rules, protocols.
Right, right. Well, I'm trying to get Miss Neal attention. I see that she's looking at something. I'm not quite sure what Ms. Neal is looking at there, and I'm trying to get her to put herself on screen. But, okay, there she, okay, there
Uh-oh.
she is. Okay, all
Listen,
right.
let me just interrupt you right now. I have learned how to multitask
Uh-huh.
since this COVID virus, and I have had be on 3 Zooms at the same time. I have had to write proposals. I have had to do everything. Trust me, I can multitask, and I heard everything that you supposed to regurgitate. I will, but
She
Okay,
taught me
okay.
what I remember her too.
just because I be glaring at him, I don't mean the ears are closed. Okay, but in essence to what Cynthia said, she and I, we have discussed it a lot because I've just, I've just been frustrated, and I mean really really frustrated, and in trying to just get the young people to want to come in and learn the organization. Okay, they want they want to run the organization before they really even the organization is all about. You know what I mean? What it is that we do, why we're still here. And I've everybody want to. We're in election mode. Everybody want to run for office. Nobody wants to come in and be appointed to the committees. And that's where they learn the organization, because the committees, that's the work that we do. It's not the offices. You know what I mean? You may hold a position for what, first vice or second vice. You don't get a chance to do nothing. But hold that position just in case something happens to me and I can't perform, or I ask you to go do something. But that's not doing the work. And I think that they've got it all wrong. Nobody in this day want to put the sweat equity into it before they want to jump in and play the game. As I always say, my little pet saying is, you have to know the rules before you can play the game. No coach is going to put any player in a game unless they lose, because the rules can make or break you. And one of the reasons that we're into a lot of the turmoil we're in is because a lot of the young people, what they wanted to do was get out there and play the game, but they don't have an idea of the rules. They don't know what go into a very good example, defunding the police. A better word could have been used had it been thought through, and they had somebody there to explain to them exactly what defunding meant. When you defund, that means you take away funding. I don't care how you get it or what you say. When you go in and try to clean it up, defunding is removing funds. Whether you feel should be, but what you need to do is look at all of the instances that depend on the funding. Because if you look at the definition of what police is, policing is keeping law and order and protecting the citizens. That's their main responsibility. All this other stuff is something that has just been added to it, you know what I mean, because of the work they do and the demands that have been placed on them. But if we actually look at the definition of what policemen is supposed to do, you would be able to see. Then therefore, when you sit down to talk about what you do, you don't need to defund, you need to restructure. I mean, that would have been a better word. It would have been a word where, I mean, you're not going to get much pushback from restructuring, because that's what people do every day, especially these people who, when they file bankruptcy, they file so that they can restructure. And it a lot of it is because they don't listen, and they don't sit down with people who actually do the work. You know what I mean? Who know the law of the land, who know what works and what does not work. And
Right.
And it really is frustrating when you're trying to deal when you're trying to deal with young people and try to get them to know, because I know my age is, I'm much older, but Lord, look at the experience I have. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I'm the greatest person out there, but if anyone has some good experience, I've been around this country doing the work that I've done. I know people, and people know me. That's what's important, is they know the work that I do. So if you ever get into a position where you need to get some advice, some good advice, I may not be able to give it to you, but by golly, I can sure tell you who to go to and get it. And it's not always my advice, but it can be the advice of somebody else. But these people who know, and I'm going to do information. I'm not just going to tell you something just to get you out of my hair, out to make you feel good. I'm going to make sure that the information you get is correct. And the reason, Charles, is because when we say things and we do things, we have to understand the people that are listening to what we're saying. Bad information in is bad information out. So I practice all the time to make sure that if somebody comes to me with the need to know something, I'm going to make sure the information is correct first. If I don't know, I say, wait a minute, let me find somebody who can give us the answer we need, because I know I don't know everything, and I don't profess to know everything. But somebody in my phone here, I can pick up the phone and call and say, listen, I need to ask this question of you, and I need to know what you think. And 9 times it's somebody who's out there doing the work. Most of the friends that I know are the ones who are out doing this work every day, and that's where you get your experience. You don't get your experience from social media. You don't get your experience by looking at other people and getting all these bright ideas, you know what I mean, while you're looking. You get your experience from doing the work. And I'm not talking about it, absolutely. And not just 5 minutes. So it takes years, it takes months for you to grow into the real knowledge of what you do. And like it is, I'm 73. I still call people today when I have a question of something that I'm not sure that it's the right move to make, or if it's the right thing to do. I have people that I call and I ask them, I say, well, listen, let me just bounce something off of you. You know, you don't have to be calling them, you know, asking for no advice. To say, this is what I think. This is what I want to do. What do you think about it? And then you opening them up for feedback. But
Wow. Well,
I find,
yeah, I was going to say, because I mean, what you're speaking into is truth, and what you're saying makes so much sense. And the challenges, there's nothing new under the sun, and you would think that you want to sit and listen and learn, but I guess just how we are, I guess, as creatures, but that, you know, that ego is something else. But let me ask you, for Volusia County and Orange County, what's the relationship with law enforcement Orange County, what's the relationship in Orange County, and what is the relationship like with the NAACP in Volusia County? And whoever wants to answer first.
I'll go.
Well, oh, go ahead, Beverly. You can go.
I
Susie McQueen. Susie McQueen.
you go say
Oh, okay.
take this call.
Uh,
You go. I'll let you.
okay. So the relationship with law enforcement in Daytona is we have a pretty good relationship, um, and it's because the police chief that we have currently in Daytona was the deputy chief under the sheriff, the under the person who was the Volusia County sheriff was the police chief for Daytona, and so we created a good relationship. It's not perfect. We don't agree on everything, but when we do agree on stuff, it is mutual. Whenever there is something that happens in the city of Daytona that may cause an uproar or uprising in the Black community, the police chief calls me second. He will call the city manager first. He will call, and then he calls the NAACP president second. And I think that says a lot because he knows that the NAACP, how important and how influential we are in this community. We can uh, stop rioting or plan protests or make uh, comments. Once there's an incident that happens in Daytona, if they call me, they'll call me second. They call the city manager first. I'll go down myself and a few others from the NAACP will go to the police department. Whatever they have to share as far as video cam, they immediately share that. They immediately put out information on their website to let the community see what exactly happened. This has happened just recently. It has happened twice, where there was a young man where the police officers shot him several times, and they put the video out there. We met with him immediately, met with the police department immediately, with the family of the young man who was shot. And then there was another incident. But like I said, we don't agree on everything. But if there is something that's going wrong that the NAACP, don't agree with in Daytona, we make sure that they know that and that the community knows that. We were a great influence with starting a citizens review board, and they are taking applications for individuals who want to be on that review board. The NAACP is scrutinizing all of those applicants to make sure that they are not just the city commissioners are not just putting someone on that board who does not have the African American or minority community best interest at heart. Not to say that they'll be unfair, but to make sure that they are fair across the board. And so that's one of the things that's happening in Daytona, that they do contact me immediately as soon as something happens. And so does the sheriff department, the Volusia County Sheriff's Department, who Sheriff Chitwood was the former police chief before the chief we have now. So, but
Okay,
when
well,
when it's time to call them out, we will certainly call them out.
uh, okay, now, Ms. Neal, in Orange County as well, there's the Orange County Sheriff Department, which is much bigger than the city of Orlando. Then there's the city of Orlando, which is the police department. So in Orlando, the police department, Orange County, which covers many cities in Orange County. What is the relationship like with the NAACP with law enforcement?
No, we also have 11 different municipalities also, and I am on I'm in their Rolodex somewhere for the others. But the two that I have the most interaction with Orlando Police Department, not Reverend, Milan, and Sheriff's Department with Sheriff Neal. Normally, I don't have a problem with them calling me. Just give me a scoop of what's going to happen or what's going down. They do keep me aware and keep me abreast of anything that comes out, especially if it's going to be controversial. And it was interesting that we had a meeting the other day talking about these games here in Orange County, and a lot of killings are as a result of these gangs. But because of the police involvement, some of them end up being, police actually doing a lot of the shooting or killing. But the reason that it happens is because of the gangs. So what I've done, I've spoken to them. I asked, did they have any kind of prevention programs for young people to prevent them from getting into these gangs? Because see, if we got active gangs and then they all over, you talk about, I understand that some of these gang leaders, they got over 1 million people following them. That's a lot of minds, you know what I mean? A lot of empty minds. And as I said before, bad information in is bad information out. You don't have any way of channeling that information that's getting to these kids and getting into their minds. And I was asking them, the Sheriff's Department, if they had any programs. They don't have any programs that are geared towards actually deterring young people from, becoming gang members. And I thought so much that could be done, but the NAACP we're not in the social actions. That's not what we do. We are strictly civil rights. You know what I mean? And getting people to understand that is the hardest thing, that you can do. We try to talk to them and get them to understand as much as I possibly can. Social services and social action is not our scope of work. Sometimes we do it, but it's not, it's not what the NAACP is supposed to be doing. If you can read our mission statement, it tells you it explains exactly the scope of work we're supposed to do. And that's why I said earlier that if a lot of these younger people who want to come in and work with the NAACP and get involved and take over and be in charge, understood how each committee that we have in the NAACP relates to an issue in the African American community. We have criminal justice, which right now is a popping committee. We have maybe like 2 people that on that committee. That committee needs to have at least anywhere from 13 to 15 to 20 people on that committee. What you mean sitting there making decisions? Let's talk about it and see what we can do from an NAACP perspective in terms of criminal justice. And but anyway, what I decided to do, because we cannot, I'm not saying we can't do it, we don't have the resources to put together a program. I would like to see a program for youth. And I'm going to speak to a person that I know who is over the My Brother Keeper program with the Orange County Public School, and see if I can get them to maybe pull together some kind of a resource program to try to reach these kids through the schools and get some kind of programming in place with you know what I mean, to keep them from being pulled into these into these gangs. It's because I'm telling you, it's frightening. I have a young grandson that's 13 years old, but I keep a close eye on him. His dad keeps a close eye on him. His mama keeps a close eye on him. But there's gonna come a time when he gets 15 and 16 years old, he wanna drive. You know, he'll be getting from under our wings. You know what I mean? But I love that there is a program, something that he can go into that will help him can continue on the road that we've started with him. You know, you don't have somebody to come in and tear down the values that we have given him. So these are some of the things that we need to do, and not just having a relationship with the police department, but what are we to give them an understanding of the services that we need in our community. It's okay for me to say, oh well, they got my cell number, they call me. But in the meantime, are we just letting, you know what I mean, being there to say, well, I got a relationship with them, no, we need to be taking whatever relationships we have and making a difference in community. We've got to stop sitting at having a seat at the table and being in listening mode. We got to be in talking mode and making suggestions and ideas, because it's gonna get serious and it's gonna worse. You know what I mean? I say, I hear him say, you know, you're not at the table, you're on the menu, but yeah, you could be at the table and still on the menu, especially if you're just sitting at the table there, just to be at the table and not doing some kind of input, you know, and solutions to make changes.
Let me just piggyback. Can I just piggyback on what Beverlye is saying about gang activity, and
Okay.
it is getting prevalent in Daytona, and you know, the police department in Daytona is probably has the biggest budget within the city, but they've either cut a lot of they've cut funding, because I know in a lot of places they had the PAL Center, the Police Athletic League Center, and so that was an outlet for a lot of kids that, you know, would otherwise be in gangs, or even some of the programs in public schools. Well, now that COVID is tearing up families and tearing up lives, but before COVID, there were after school programs. Back, I want to say back when I was in school, it was a GAA. It was like little athletic programs, and they don't have those outlets anymore. And so you have young kids who are getting in trouble, going to juvie, getting out, and it's just my opinion that a lot of them learn to they have to protect themselves when they're in juvenile, and they get out, and they got this mindset, and they have nobody to direct them. And so I think it's a combination of all things. And that goes back to what Beverlye was saying about defunding the police department. We're not talking about defunding. The name defunding has a negative connotation, because we're not trying to defund the police, but there are dollars, and there are programs that can complement the police department that would assist in a lot of things that's going on in this community.
Wow. Yeah, and the minute I heard that word and I understood what they were trying to do, and I was trying to say, like, why did they use that word?
Yeah.
Like, where did that come from? Because that right there is like a stick of dynamite. Just that, because that's all that is. It's just a stick of dynamite, and for people to really attach that to something that they can turn into something really negative for those who are trying to do what they do and to get people not to truly understand what's going on. Now, my next question that I want to ask, and one of the main reasons that I definitely been trying to have Ms. Neal on as much as possible, and that is to talk about what can we do to make sure that all of us vote, and what is at stake when it comes to this November election. What do we have to do to make sure we get people to understand? Vote, make sure that people are registered to vote, make sure that they find a way to the polls, whether it's through mail or physically showing up. What is it that, how important it is, how, what's it, hold on, wait a minute, let me see if I can get a close-up of that, because I'm trying to see what you got here. Okay, hold it closer to the camera. Okay. There you go. Okay. What is that you have? Oh, yeah. Okay. So please explain what that is.
National Black Voter Black is an initiative of the NAACP, and on that we're making sure that we get people registered by National Voter Registration Day, which would be 9/22. We're all on the same line to be out doing collective voter registration. Then we're going to make sure that people understand that it's important that they vote. As a matter of fact, my branch is right now in the process of putting together and voters education, open hand ready. Between and Charles, I'm going to send it to you, and Cynthia, I'm going to send it to you as something. It's not just for army, but it can be used for this. It's sort of like a base. I tell you, we got so many people and out here who do not understand what the voting process is. Everybody talking about, well, I'm not going to vote because the Democrats disrespect me. Let me just say something to you. This voting is not about Democrats. It's not about Republicans. It's about the issues. And that's what we have got to rechannel people's minds to get them off listening to what these crazy other people out there tell them. Well, the Democrats disrespect you. Let me just say something to you, ask you and Cynthia. If it wasn't for the Democrats, we have any elected officials? Just answer my question. Do you know any other party that has the number of elected officials that represent us than the Democratic Party?
It's the Democratic Party.
What was that, Cynthia?
I'm pushing.
No. I understand your question. I understand your question, but I'm gonna throw a little curveball in there for you. My question that I would like to ask them so they would better understand. This is what I would like for them to understand. For them to understand the importance of the vote, because if there are people in there that you don't like, then do something about putting people in there that you like. And how do you do that? You have to educate yourself and you have to vote. Or put yourself in position for people to be in position, because you sitting around complaining and not doing anything and talking about what people are not doing for you. What are you doing for people to do something for you? So that is my question that I would like to ask them as they complain. And as you say, educate yourself on the system and how it works. Is that not the key?
And the issues, Charles, because the fact that it is everybody don't have the same issues. You know, my issues may not be your issues.
Right.
Whoever it is that's out there supporting issues, then I'm gonna get behind them. I don't care what party they are. We're gonna get behind them and support them. But the thing about it is what gets me is these people talking about, I'm not gonna vote because Democrats are taking black people for granted. We are not being taken for granted, and I don't know where it's coming from. It's not true. And you got so many people who are out here saying this. Can't nobody take you for granted if you don't allow it. You are to be granted. Get out there and vote. Say it. And vote your issues.
And
Vote for the people that you know that are going to supply your issues.
yeah, and I agree with
And the
Beverly.
other thing, you know,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
because
Go ahead.
when we do our city council elections, a very good example. You got the lowest black turnout of any elections during those local elections, and all of them are nonpartisan. And this is what I try to tell the people: the races and the offices that you really need to be looking at, you don't vote. And they are not Democrats and Republicans. They are nonpartisan. So why? So what's the problem there? You sit back and you don't vote. You don't vote as lazy argument.
Yeah.
It's either or.
Yeah, and it's it's in our area it's complacency, it's just the lack of education, the lack of knowledge. We try to do voter registration, but here's the thing: you can do voter registration all day, every day for a whole year, and when it comes election time, that registered voter, it's not going to make a difference if that person don't go out to vote. I was so upset with the primaries in Volusia County, particularly in Daytona, in my city, where out of 40 something thousand, almost 45,000 African Americans in Volusia County. I'm going to go back to Volusia County. In Volusia County, that's registered to vote, the turnout was 8%. 8% of the whole county of Volusia for African Americans. We didn't even reach 10%.
Wow. Wow, that's
But
that's
and
that's
here's the
crazy.
thing: when you have these the drop off, the food drop off at the churches, the different events where they have boxed food, and they're there before the sun comes up. The lines are wrapped around the church to get a box of food, but you can't go and stand in the line for 15 minutes to vote, or you can't call somebody and say, can you help me with my absentee ballot, or can you give me some information on the candidates, or can you explain these amendments, because right now there's a amendment on the ballot where they want to do the primary open primaries. And Beverly, I don't know how you feel about that, but that, to me, that is dangerous.
Cynthia, I agree with you. When I first heard it surface last year, it really started with Bernie when he was running in the primary 2016 against Hillary, and they didn't understand the closed primary, and people who were independents and no party affiliates could not vote him. Then he started out, if you remember, saying it was rigged. He was the one who started with it. And then the next thing I know, began to say we have open primaries. I don't want to depend on EPA deciding who's going to represent. That's the purpose of having a party. So you can have a say so as going to be representative of your party. You know what you're saying about voter registration, and I talked about that too. You know how I feel about voter registration. What I need to do, because I'm the president of the NAACP, I'm not trying to cause any wave. But if we don't put another person on the roads to vote. Do you know? You saying you talking county? Do you know in primary election August 18th, out of 800,000 people registered in this entire county, only about 272,000 people voted. You got over 600, not 60, 600,000 people who did not vote.
Yep. Yep. Same numbers in Daytona, in Volusia County.
You know, so my thing is, so now we're watching numbers higher and higher, and they just go up, but it's not rounding out. You got over 600,000 people who did not vote.
And I think one of the saddest part.
The African American community was horrible.
No, I think one of the saddest part about that is that the politicians know that, especially the Republicans. You know, they know they know that majority of certain people don't vote, and they try to play into that in their strategy and what they do.
But the thing about it, if you have the opportunity to save yourself and you don't, why should I do it?
Because the older I get, the more I realize what ignorance is. That's why.
Yeah,
that's the only answer I got for you. So, as part of that topic, am I my brother's keeper? That's all I got.
Yeah. I tell people when we do voter registration and they refuse to register, you know, I tell them, you know, I got my voter registration card before I got my driver's license. I couldn't wait to get my voter registration card. And I think it was during an era where, you know, the civil rights movement and I'm not as old as Beverlye, but I you know, my big sisters and brothers are about her age, and so they taught me, and I walked with them, even though I might have been 10, 11, 12, 13 years old when I had to be with them, when I understood what they were going through. It took me a minute because I was too young to understand, but you know, the people today, they think that they have arrived, that there is no, you know, discrimination, or there is no more fight. What are we fighting for? Well, not only are we fighting for Black Lives Matter, but we're fighting for better housing, economics, jobs, education, you know, and people who are registered to vote or refuse to register to vote, we need to bring it home to them and to say to them, you're in public housing now. What if they take public housing away from you? What if they take your Medicaid away from you? I ate something from a restaurant a couple of months ago, and I had to go to the emergency room. And when I got the bill, of course, I only had to pay a $200 deductible with my insurance. But when I got my bill from the emergency room, an emergency room visit, it was over $10,000.
Wow.
$10,000 for an emergency room visit for food poisoning. And so I think when we relate those issues to the complacent people, to say, look, if you don't vote, you might lose this tomorrow. By November 4th, by January 20th, you're going to be out of here.
Yeah,
and then also the thing about it too is that just what you said was so apropos. You know what I mean? You had health insurance. You don't have to worry about collection agencies. You don't have to worry about your insurance not being able to pay it. And for people to sit up there and say my vote don't count, it's all the reason. With this anybody in there right now talking about they're not gonna vote, you Now the money come from you don't know if it's gonna leave when they say it's gonna leave because they don't know. You can see it, you can't taste it, you can't smell it. So you don't know when or if you get it. And the thing about it, you get ducking. So you know what you do is put in place some kind of protective system and make your insurance, you know what I mean, or your ability to get health insurance is still there. These stupid moves around. Oh, I ain't vote. My vote don't count. Well, don't get tomorrow, okay?
Exactly.
n-
Or I had a young
I mean,
man to tell me, my mama vote for me. Like, really? Your mama vote for you? And this is
Miss
a college
Miss
student.
Neal,
it's
Miss
yes,
Neal, Miss Neal.
yes, Charles.
Do you remember at the Women on the Move conference when Miss Clayton spoke? You were there, right? When Miss Clayton spoke?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I should.
Yeah. Now,
Yep.
if I had thought about it, and I should have taken the clip out from her speech. Miss Slater, I don't know if you were there, but Miss Clayton here, I don't know if you can see her here. Here, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's the program I'm holding up.
Okay.
Okay, that's Miss
Mm-hmm.
Clayton, and hold on, let me see here.
Is she the
Let
one
me
with
go
the
here.
red on or the black one?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, I see her. Uh-huh.
all right. So
Okay.
understanding her history, and she spoke about being on the battlegrounds. Now, and she's talking about with John Lewis and Dr. Martin Luther King and going to the White House with President Johnson, and she's talking about being there when people like John Lewis got hit and got his skull cracked open, and she's talking about those moments long before before we knew about the death of John Lewis. So that was part of what her speech was about. Now, if I had thought about it, I wish that I would have taken the clip, because I videotaped it, so I have the speech. And I should have taken this part out that I'm not going to say that's what you should do. But because she was there and she understand the true sacrifice that was made. And I'm going to ask you, Miss Neal, do you remember what she said when the comment was for the people who don't want to vote or the people who won't vote? Do you remember what she said?
Not really. I remember the speech, but I don't remember word for word. No, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't remember to be able to regurgitate it to you. But
Right.
I remember her speech.
Okay, well, I'm not
Okay.
advocating what she said, but because of the passion and being on the battlegrounds and understanding this conversation that we're having right now, she said, now that I am the host of the Journey 2020. I'm not saying this is what you should do. I'm just telling you what she said in her speech. She said, you should just go kill him.
I do remember
No. What I'm saying is, she's saying, look, these people who are out to kill you, these people who were out to kill them for fighting for your rights, and you don't want to stand up for those who died for you. Look, why should I care about you? Let them come kill you, is what she was saying. Look, these people sacrificed, these people died, and you don't want to get up off your butt and go vote? Then they should
Yeah.
come kill you. That's what she was saying.
That's heavy right there.
But
Really.
Now, I'm not saying that's what you should do, but here's a person who was on the battlefield, who fought the fight, got up, make a difference for you, and you don't want to go vote?
That's
And
right.
she know the
Yeah.
people who have died, that's been burned, lynched, and killed because you don't want to get up and vote. I understand the words. I understand them. I understand what she's saying. I'm not saying
Yeah,
that's what you should do, but I understand.
yeah, yeah.
But that's just,
but
I mean, I should have had
but
the
you know,
clip.
it's the same thing.
Go ahead.
It's the same with Sojourner Truth. She said, you know what I mean? I could say more slaves if they knew they were slaves. I mean, and it's the one thing that that we need. I mean, Harriet Tubman, Harriet Tubman, when she freed slaves, she said, you know what I mean? I could have freed more slaves if they knew they were slaves. It's a mindset.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a mindset, and how are we going to get them out of that mindset? Is, you know what I mean? It's something else, because it's so entrenched, and what's happening is you hear one person say it, and then the next thing you know, they their friend who don't want to be, you know what I mean, a chump. Somebody asks them, they're gonna, you know, they'll try to be like their friend, and bad information gets out, because if you ask to justify, they gonna have to lie in order to even be able to justify. Because if they told the truth, justify not voting. There is
Okay.
yeah.
no justification.
But
Well,
when they start
So
taking, when they start taking things away, uh,
take it
from
when they
us,
start. When they start,
when they continue, I mean, well, they've been taking things away, but some of the things that
not
we're still holding on to are people who don't vote. Let's just get this right, because I even in a post I asked my Facebook friends, the posters, when you see those polls come in, they say likely voters say. This is the result of 2,000 likely voters. Well, they're not counting us, because they figure that they consider us, we're not likely voters. And so I asked on my Facebook, my page, how, has a poster, have you gotten any calls from anybody that said who you want to vote for? Would you vote? Who would you vote for? You don't call us. I don't think I've gotten a call either in the primaries or right now about who I'm going to vote for. And
and
I have not missed one election since I got my voter registration card. They
and you
don't
know what?
count us.
And the samplers that they do, those samplers are so big. I mean, it's just unbelievable, because um they have certain test questions. If you don't answer the question like they want you to answer it, they stop. They end the poll. So those
Mhm.
polls are skewed, and they are
Oh,
made to give you
absolutely.
the answers they want to give. The thing is, and that's why usually when people tell me about polls, let's say people are
Yeah,
included in
I don't
that
believe
poll.
those polls. I
If
don't
you
really
can
believe those
give me,
polls.
if you can say, well, we got about 100, that's no sampling to be able
Mhm.
to give people hope, to give people direction. That's no sampling.
Right.
So we
Mhm.
got to look at these polls using our own common sense, and like I always tell people, I refer to your president as your president, not my president, because I didn't vote for him. I don't know who you voted for. You know,
Me,
I
president,
know I didn't. He,
don't
he
give
ain't
them
my
to me.
president. I didn't vote for him. I
Don't
didn't
give them
vote
to
for him.
me.
But my thing is, I don't know who you voted for, but I know I didn't vote for him, so he's not my president. But I'm just saying,
okay.
you know, people.
Okay. Well, listen, I want to thank the both of you for taking the time to come on the show. Whether or not Trump is your president or not, but we know
Oh
what Trump. Well, we
no,
know what that he's not the president of Ms. Neal, so we already know that. But
And Miss
this
Slater.
is the
right?
journey 2020, and we have two wonderful, strong women who has blessed us today, and they're part of the NAACP, Volusia County. A little further over here, westward bound, I would say, is Orange County. And I ask the two of you to leave us with the word of encouragement before we get out of here, of what you would say about making sure you show up to vote in November. You would say what? Who want to go first? Real short and sweet.
I can just say what we always say. We need to vote as if your life depends on it, because it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Miss Neal, words of encouragement.
Just say
I'm
good luck.
Words of encouragement to vote. You would say.
I would say to people that own self be true, because people have been killed for us to have the right to vote. And in as much as, and that's an ultimate sacrifice, you know what I mean? So to thine own self be true. And I'm not going to ask you if you voted. Hoping that you be truthful to yourself and to others.
Now, I want you to answer that call, because you know that's Trump calling you. So, answer that call.
That's it.
Anyway, see, she didn't like that joke. but that's okay. All right. Ms. Beverlye, Neal, Cynthia Slater from the NAACP want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the Journey 20. And I told Ms. Neal, and I say the same thing to you, Ms. Slater. You have an open invitation. If there's ever anything that's going on, anything you want to talk about. And I definitely would like to come on, and we need to talk about what's going on over there in Volusia County, over there in New Smyrna Beach. For real, for real. So we need to get an update on that, and we need to talk about that, because we need to go over there and just show up and show out and get into some good trouble over there in New Smyrna Beach. For real. What is that called? The yacht club over there? What's it called? The yacht club?
The yacht club, yeah.
Yeah. People, people read up on the yacht club over there in New Smyrna Beach. We need to go over there and get into some real trouble. Serious. I mean some good trouble.
$30 or $30 a year for prime property for their meeting. The Anglers Club. It's something about the Anglers.
Anglers Club.
Anglers Yacht Club. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Well,
I got roots, and I got roots in very, very close roots. As a matter of fact, I used to spend summers in Smyrna when I was a little girl.
Yeah. Well, we need to go over there and get into some good trouble.
We can do that.
That being said, and actually, because I'm inspired, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the show with the clippets from Ms. Clayton's speech, so people can better understand what she said about being in the fire and how important it is for you to get out and vote. So I am going to close the show with that. So I want to thank the two of you for taking the time to come on and letting us know how important that we need to show up at the polls in November. And so I want to thank you so much for taking time. Remember, you got an open invitation.
Thank you for the invite, and I will take your phone.
All right. Thank you. All right. Well, again, I am going to close the show with the highlights of Ms. Clayton's speech, and that she made reference to that I spoke to earlier, so you don't take this out of context and what I was saying, because I'm not saying that's what you should do, but this is what she said in her speech.
If you believe that your environment needs some repairs, figure out a way to help repair it. If someone is hungry, prepare to feed them. If you understand that last year we had the most abominable report of women and blacks who didn't go to the polls, shoot them and kill them. I have proof, and you've seen the proof, of men and women who were standing on the courthouse steps in Alabama and other cities trying to register, not to burn the building down, but trying to register to vote so we as black people could vote. And guess what happens? I had to take people to the hospital, blood running all down, because law enforcement people were beating them with bullets, whatever those things, them sticks, with blood running, trying to register. So I tell lazy people who stay in bed on election day, before you stayed in bed because you had no place to go. You weren't allowed to vote.
Yes.
And now we got people who are dead and bruised and battered to get you to get up and vote, and you won't even get up and vote. Kill them instantly. Don't even hesitate. No, don't hesitate. You've got to be what I said to these corporate executives the other night. It's the same thing that happened to me when I went on television, the first black, and I'm always flattered and embarrassed when someone says, "Did you study television when you were in college?" And then I look at them and thank them for the compliment because they didn't even have television when I was in college. But I smiled. If you can, you will. If you can, you will. That doesn't mean that every act is going to be successful. But you're not looking for no rating. You're looking for your opportunity to get up and do something. Be sure you take care of people around you who are not as blessed. That's what it is, a blessing. Because, see, most of you are black. And although we were blessed by the good Lord to come here, somehow we're not always taken care of because you've got brains and talent, and I want you to use it. Well, you have. But I want to continue. But also, not only do take somebody else. I have a group of girls in Atlanta who are daughters of motherless daughters. These little girls who have no mothers, either by incarceration or neglect, or we got mothers who tell their children to their faces, "I don't want you. You're too much trouble." You know what I did? As busy as I am, I take those girls on and tell them what happened to your mother. And I don't want to say that no good woman. I don't say that. Tell your mothers or feel in your heart you're not responsible for that mother who didn't want you. You're here now. So I give them security that makes something yourself, and maybe someday you'll be a mother and you'll get a chance to offset that which happened to you. There is something for us to do all the time. If you care about your fellow human beings, you'll find a way to help them. Either lead, follow, or get out of the way. Thank you very much.